Today is my 26th presentation on the subject of assigning rights to users for accessing fields in the master data tables in the ERP environments. Uh, I I am planning to include the following aspects. Uh, what are the master data tables and fields? What are the roles and how to assign roles? Identification of the 870 fields in the ERP environments, assessing risks for accessing fields in the master data tables, segregation of duties, abbreviated as SOD, development of authorization profiles or called profiles, attaching of the profiles to the roles, and future references. Although the focus of this presentation is on the design function, but the concepts can be utilized in any of the functions in any industry. Here, master data tables means it's the core data. Master data tables carry the core data that is used as a base for any function in any business activity like designing, purchasing of BOQ, construction, finance, accounts, other functions. Certain master data tables must be maintained to enhance business efficiency. Each master data tables contains a list of fields as per the requirements captured in the next slides. Fields contain data at the granularity level. Depending on the comprehensiveness of the master data table, the number of master data tables in any function can be restricted to a reasonable number like 5 or 10, etc. Master data tables can be used by many functions depending on the access rights assigned, and a separate chapter 6 is dedicated in my handbook for developing master data tables, and hence it is not being duplicated. What are roles and how to assign roles? Roles contain authorizations that users can use to access the transactions or fields or documents, etc. Assigning roles involve carrying out the following business activities. Number one, identifying relevant fields in the ERP environments, for example, in the SAP, assessing risk in the accessing fields in the master data tables, segregation of the duties, development of the authorization profiles or called profiles, attaching the profiles to the roles. Roles can be individual roles applicable usually for the lower level persons in the hierarchy, or composite roles usually applicable for higher level persons in the hierarchy. Identification of the A70 fields in the ERP environment. The fields contain the data at the granularity level and can be used in the forms, documents, and tables, and must have a unique number and a description and the field length. Data type, data element, data values can be assigned to the fields as per the purpose of the field and governed by the design of type of tables designed in the ERP environment. For 13 real estate and hospitality industry functions such as construction, such as materials, such as contracts, such as HR, etc., etc., 870 fields have been identified by the author for different type of businesses and listed in the annexures 1A to 1G of my handbook. 428 fields out of this 870 fields have been identified as relevant for the construction projects. 109 fields out of 428 fields are relevant for the business design functions in the construction industry, which is the focus of this presentation. The breakup of 109 field is given in my next slide. 27 fields they pertain to the design of architecture functions, wherein I have considered 5 packages. For interior designing, 23 fields have been identified for 4 type of packages. In the case of MB functions, 59 fields have been identified just for 2 packages, namely electricals and HVAC. So totaling to subtotaling to 109 fields. A few examples of such fields are as below. F504, for example, indicates list of the drawings and technical specifications for the scope of the work, including for the BOQ for the structural work packages. F505 drawings and technical specifications for the civil building works packages. F506 designs and drawings and technical specifications for the facade work packages, and so on. Of course, designers can add many more fields as relevant to the number of packages to be designed with service. 109 fields I have indicated, or 5 plus 4 plus 2 9 uh, 11 packages which I have indicated. So number of fields will grow, and number of fields can run into, in fact, thousands. Assessing risk for accessing fields in the master data tables. What access rights is to be given to a master data table or the field depends what is the risk level assessed for, number one, master data table itself, number two, for the field itself. The methodology for classifying the risks to the fields is given in the chapter 10 of my handbook in lecture 16D, wherein fields have identified as having high level risk, medium level risk, or lower level risk, and hence not being duplicated here. This methodology can be accessed at my website also, the number reference for which I have given in this slide. So when developing authorization profiles, the designers must have prior knowledge of the risk level of the field as captured in the illustration in these slides. Understanding the SOD concept. SOD is a concept of having more than one person required to complete a job, be it a business function, in addition to any finance and accounts or HR function or construction function or design function, for that matter, any function. SOD concept is applicable in any function. It is the control used by the management to prevent misuse of information, theft, unethical activities, fraud, and any other security issues. The aspects related to the SODs have also been covered in one of my earlier blogs in my website, and hence are not being duplicated. So you can refer to the link mentioned below. Implementing SOD can enable avoiding conflict of the roles amongst designers or other functional users at different levels. Development of authorization profiles, or simply called profiles. There must be distinct option to choose from any one of the combination of the following 5 activities: creating or initiating the contents with a specific individual identified field for which access is to be given vis-a-vis the design of the architecture, data designing, and design of MV function; editing or modifying the contents of the field; deleting the contents of the field; viewing the contents of within each field, and approve the contents within each field. Continuing with this profiles, uh, an illustration of the method of developing authorization profiles for 5 fields in each one master data table in the design of the architecture function is given below and self-explanatory. This illustration contains all required information with suggested profile code numbering scheme. Organizations teams can change the proposed profile code numbering scheme as also the information for each row or at his or her own absolute discretion. Thus, the author proposes developing authorization profiles at the rate of 5 for each field in the master data table. Developing of the authorization profiles, continuing, let's say example of one key function as design of architect. Let's take one table at a time. Master data table, say MT106. Master data table name, let's say drawing specification master package for civil works. And macro risk assessed for this master data table is high. That means at the table level for MT106 drawing and specification, the risk for accessing this table itself is deemed as high. Codes and names of the fields within this master data table are F505, which is the list of the drawings and design for, say, structure work; F505 drawings and specification for civil building works packages; F506 drawing and specifications for the facade work, and so on and so forth. The coding schemes like MT106 or F504, etc., they are just given for your simple understanding and digitalization purpose, and organizations have got the full empowerment to choose these of their own liking. Sometimes these are also governed by the software packages which are chosen, like SAP. The SAP, for example, will have its own coding scheme for the master data tables and the fields, etc. Now, 5 profiles which need to be developed vis-a-vis each business activity are uh, how to who can initiate this activity, who can edit this, who can delete this, who can view this, and who can approve this activity. For each of these 5 profiles, a summary of the following must be included in the respective profile. 1. Code and name of the function for which function, that is, which function can perform this activity. For example, designing a structure. Team number and name. Which team can do this? Hierarchical level to which profile to be assigned. What level this can be done? For example, middle level, senior level, junior level, etc. Position which hierarchical level can do this. That is like a staff person, a assistant manager, a manager, general manager, etc. and so on and so forth. This is captured in the next slide as an illustration. So here in this illustration, I have taken just one field as F504, which is the for field for list of drawings and technical specification for the scope of work, including the BOK and the structure work packages, and 5 profiles are illustrated here in the column number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as PM00501, PM00502, 503, 504, 505, etc. etc. And on the left hand column, I have indicated the in the column the functions to be assigned, the team to be assigned, the level to be assigned, and the position to be assigned based on the SOD concept. And these 5 columns, starting from column number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these are creating, for editing, for deleting, for viewing, and for approving. For each of these column, there are different functions suggested, team suggested, level suggested, and position suggested. For example, the creation of this field, for example, can be with the function called PR02, which is project function 2 in the context of the construction industry, and design of function name is design of architecture, and team members who can do this are T1, T2, T3, T4, depending on the which package, whether it is a structure package or whether it is a architecture work package or a facade package, etc. etc. And who can initiate this? A middle level person can do that, and suggested level is senior manager, for example. Similarly, I have given this concepts based on the SOD for different levels for editing, deleting, viewing, and approving. For example, let's talk about who can delete any field which has been created. It should be, of course, by the design of architecture function. It should be a different team called T6, which is a functional risk coordinator who can do that, and the level is proposed as middle and senior manager. Let's talk about the final last column as approval. Who can approve this field which has been created or access this field? Now, this can be done by the again design of the architecture function. The T7 is the functional head who can do this, who can access this, and it is the higher level hierarchy, and it is the project head who should approve any detailing of this field or any changes to this, any final approval of this. Now, risk classification for the remaining fields. As I mentioned, I have talked only about one field F504, and I talked about that there are 109 fields which are there in the design function. So for this 5 more fields, 4 more fields F505, 506, 507, 508, my assessment is that these are all high risk fields, and therefore the table SOD matrix, I call it, for the purpose of assigning roles is identical, and I have proposed the profile numbers as PM 501 to PM 505 for the F504 first field, for the second field PM 00506 to PM 00510, and so on and so forth. So thus 25 profiles have been generated as above using the SOD concept, and these teams, as I mentioned, team 1, team 2, team 3, etc., they represent different type of functions like structure function, architecture function, facade function, etc. Now, based on the business needs, the number of access profiles for accessing fields in the master table can be determined and estimated as per the following approach. Authorization profiles for each field to be developed at the rate of 5 profiles per field. It means for 545 authorization profiles need to be uh, designed, developed for 109 fields which I talked about earlier. Now, for professionals, easier understanding, in my book, in an Access section D, 280 authorization profiles have been illustrated for 56 fields. 56 field into 5, which is 280. Now, author proposes developing 1500 profiles for design functions at the rate of 500 profiles per function. So, say for fields at the rate of 100 in each of the design of the architecture, interior design, and design of MEP functions. This is just a flexibility provided to develop more number of profiles. Although organization can decide its own discretion how many profiles to be identified for service each functions. So for considering these 1500 profiles at the rate of 500 profiles per function, the total number of profile numbering which is mentioned in my book is 1500, that is starting from PM 00501 to PM 02000. Attaching profiles to the roles. Now once this configured authorization profile is so developed, they can be attached by the HOD to the various roles. Now with the help of the IT team. Now, so for example, the list of authorization profiles can run into several hundreds and several thousands. Now these profiles, they need to be attached to the different roles depending on the team member, hierarchical position, skill level, and element of the function. For more details on how to assign roles, you can refer to one of my blogs on my website. In some of the ERP driven business environments like SAP, profile generating softwares are available wherein standard authorization profiles can be developed and attached to the designers for transacting in respective design development rules. In fact, this transaction authorization profiles, this can be for any function, be it construction, be it materials, be it contracts, be it HR, be it design function, be it purchase, be it accounts, finance, and so on and so forth. Now, once authorization profiles have been developed, attachment of these profiles to roles is proposed in 3 steps. One is attaching profiles to the roles in the development server. Second is testing roles in the test servers by the ERP teams and designers, and uploading roles to the production servers. Now, what is meant by development server, test role, servers, etc. Test servers. Now, development server is the one where the experimentation goes on, which which role will work. Otherwise, in case we don't do this development and testing, it is possible that some of the profiles, some of the roles may not even work. So business will not be able to do this activity planned for that. Therefore, before transferring these developed and tested roles into the final actual construction server or production server, these two prior steps A and B are very important. This is to ensure that no incompatible or conflicting authorization profiles get attached. So the roles need to be attached to the production server or construction server by following what is called PDCA concept, which is called Plan to Check Act. And I have personally experienced that this unless and these are assigned diligently, and there can be situation where a work will get stopped because appropriate authorization profiles have not been attached to the roles. The number of profiles and hence the number of roles can run into several hundreds or thousands depending on the following: size and complexity of the organization, the variety of the construction projects, residential, commercial, educational, etc., skill level of the designers, the technology of the construction design software, the design organization structure and empowerment culture, and risk appetite of the company. These roles can then be assigned to different positions depending on the names of the individuals. Now, you can refer to Chapter 11 and Annexure 29C and 30D in my handbook, in my book titled Ethics in the Real Estate and Hospitality Industry, Volume 1, Architecture, Interior, and MEP Designers. You can also refer to one of my blogs called Assigning Access Rights to the Fields in the Master data Tables for Building Designers. You can also find some articles in the Facebook, my LinkedIn, for which references are given. The book is now available in the Kindle format, as also in the paperback format at Amazon.in and Amazon.com and some of the retail outlets in Delhi, and in some places in India going to be available soon. Thank you.